Hello, dear students. The only thing which I like is that all my students should always smile. And for that, we have introduced a very short overview of the entire chapter. But that's not all. We will give you study notes, comprehensive, detailed analysis of the chapters as per the ICSE curriculum. Yes, there would be mock test. We will cover everything. And yes, when you fall in love, the learning becomes magical. We definitely know how to create the magic and just get ready for the magic. I love you all. Bajrang Kumar Garg, founder, Gen Z EdTech. Keep smiling.
So, how does a massive protest on the streets actually translate into real political power? It's a question people ask all the time. Well, today we're going to dive into a really key moment in India's history that shows us exactly how that can happen, how the struggle on the ground paved the way right into the halls of government. Take a look at this. This is the Bengal Legislative Council back in 1921. I mean, you can just feel the formality, right? It looks so established, so official. It feels like a completely different universe from, loud demonstrations and boycotts out on the streets. This is where the laws get made. And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? How did a movement of regular people protesting in the dirt and the dust of the streets get their leaders into these very seats? The journey is, well, probably not what you'd expect. Okay, so our story really kicks off with this incredible nationwide wave of protest that put a kind of pressure on the British Empire that they had never really felt before. And this wasn't just a few scattered protests here and there. I mean, just look at this map. From way up north in Peshawar, all the way down to Madras in the south, from Bombay to Calcutta, the whole country was ignited. This was a massive, coordinated national uprising. So who was out there on the streets? The short answer is pretty much everyone. And this is a huge deal. For the first time, thousands of women left their homes to get actively involved. That was a massive social change right there. You also had peasants, tribal communities, shopkeepers, students, literally people from every walk of life, all united. And the methods they used, honestly, they were genius in their simplicity. They broke the law, but peacefully. They defied that really hated salt tax by just making their own salt. They organized boycotts, hitting the empire's economy right where it hurt, and they flat out refused to pay taxes. This was nonviolent resistance on a scale nobody had ever seen. Now you can probably guess what happened next. The British government wasn't just going to stand by and watch. Their response was a massive crackdown. Protesters and their leaders were arrested and thrown in prison by the thousands. This man right here, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, was a really important leader from the Northwest. He was just one of many influential people who got arrested. The British thought, if they could just lock up the leadership, the whole movement would fall apart. But the pressure was just too much. So, faced with a whole nation in protest, the British government knew it had to change its strategy. They realized that force alone wasn't working. It was time to try politics. And their political response was this, the Government of India Act of 1935. But here's the thing you have to remember. This wasn't some generous gift. It was passed, and I'm quoting here, as a result of the struggles and efforts of the Indian people. The protests on the street had forced a major political concession. So what did this new act actually do? Well, it gave the provinces something called provincial autonomy, which was a big step toward self-government. But, and this is a huge but, it also created this complicated system called diarchy at the top, which basically kept all the real power, like the military and foreign policy, in British hands. Plus, the British governors could just overrule anything the elected Indian ministers did. So it was a step forward, yeah, but with some major strings attached. Now, the Indian National Congress, which was the main party leading the freedom struggle, they saw all these flaws. They publicly said they didn't approve of the act. But they made a really smart strategic move. They decided, okay, we'll fight the elections anyway. We'll use whatever limited power they give us to prove we can govern. And that decision, well, it was a huge turning point. This was the moment the movement shifted from protesting on the streets to actually practicing politics inside the government. So, did the gamble pay off? Oh yeah, big time. After the 1937 elections, the Indian National Congress, the party of the protesters, ended up forming governments in 7 out of the 11 provinces. The jump from the streets to the seats of power, it actually worked. So what's the first thing you do when you get power? Well, one of their first acts, and you gotta love this, was to release their old comrades from prison. They also got right to work on social reforms, boosting education, supporting local village industries, and fighting for the rights of marginalized communities. And if you need one person who perfectly captures this whole journey, it's someone like Sarojini Naidu. She was a major leader in the protests, and years before this, back in 1925, she'd already become the first Indian woman to be president of the National Congress. It just shows you that the leaders were being forged in the struggle itself. But this whole experiment in limited self-government, it was about to get cut short by a massive event that would change the entire world. I mean, look at how fast this all happened. The act is passed in 35, the elections are won in 37, and just 2 years later, boom, World War II breaks out. By the end of that same year, all those Congress ministries were gone. They all resigned. So why? Because the British Viceroy declared that India was at war with Germany, without asking a single elected Indian leader what they thought. For the Congress, this was the ultimate insult. It just proved that all that talk of autonomy was kind of a sham. It showed that Britain still saw India as a colony to command, not a partner to consult. So that leaves us with this big, complicated question, right? Was this 2-year experiment a total failure that just got crushed by the empire? Or was it a crucial training ground, a short but really vital moment that proved Indians were ready to rule themselves, and maybe even sped up full independence a few years later? The answer is not simple, but that journey from the streets to the seats of power, it absolutely changed everything. What do you think?